It is Monday, the 8th of November 2021. This t-shirt I think I've worn before, but it comes from the Rise Above crew. Big shout to Lance and all the guys down there doing their live stream every Friday evening, keeping it real, saying what needs to be said. Much respect. Hoping to get back on that show in the coming weeks as Musical Truth 3 drops, and I'll have a whole bunch of new material to discuss. I'm looking to jump on a number of podcasts and radio shows actually in the coming weeks and months to present some of the material from that book. So I'll be getting busy on that front after a bit of a hiatus, which has been necessary to get the writing of the book completed. I'm just back from the northern version of the Uprise and Shine conference. So the southern one took place on a farm in Forest Row, East Sussex in September. It was a great event. It was like-minded people coming together to discuss solutions and better ways of living and how we can move forward from these challenging times. So the northern version was more of the same in terms of the content, a lot of great information about natural health, personal sovereignty, standing in your power, coming up with solutions, cooperating together in voluntarism type societies. The problem with the northern version of the conference is that 2 days before it was due to take place, the original venue, the Salt Cellar in Oldham, Manchester, let's call them out, reneged on their commitment and pulled out of hosting the conference. This left the organisers with the very difficult and challenging job of trying to find an alternative venue with just 2 days' notice that was prepared to host this event. And they pulled it off. We ended up doing the weekend at the Crown Hotel in Croston, way up there in Lancashire, close to Southport actually, bringing back memories of the Southport Weekender from back in the day for anyone that used to attend that event. So big shout to Ant at the venue, the Crown, for hosting the event. He really stepped up and really saved the day. We had a very intimate gathering. It was in a pub type setting and everything was kind of closely compressed together. So we had the corner where the speakers were doing their presentations. We had the merchandise tables and the tables with the natural health products and all of this. And everyone was just kind of closely crammed in together. But it made for a great atmosphere. You know, everyone was talking to each other. There was some great networking done, some great fellowship, some great camaraderie. So that was a wonderful aspect to the event. I, as well as doing a presentation, got to DJ on the Saturday night. So that was great fun, dropping a few tunes. And prior to my DJ set, we had a live band performance from Darren Nesbitt, who many people will know from the Light newspaper. And they'll also know him for his song We Are the 99%. And Darren's band, which is called the Daz Band, I'm pretty sure they named themselves after the soul and funk band of the same name that was around in the 80s. You might remember Let It All Blow and other hits from the Daz Band. But this is the modern incarnation 2021 style of the Daz Band. And they put in a great performance of about an hour, really full of passion, really full of energy, and finishing with an extended version of We Are the 99%. That was a proper pub sing-along, you know, drunken style, pints of beer up in the air, and everyone singing along with the lyrics, even though Darren created some new lyrics on the spot. So the news on that front is that Darren and his crew are looking to release that song and try and get it into the charts. And when I found out about this, I was quite surprised to learn that there are still charts, because I thought the music charts went out years ago. They certainly lost their meaning years ago, but apparently charts are still around, and the idea is to try and get this song to number 1 at Christmas. Whether they achieve that remains to be seen. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of obstacles to overcome given the subject matter of the song. I gather that already They've been rejected by a recording studio that they were looking to work with when the studio proprietors saw the lyrical content of the song, and they said, no thanks, this isn't for us. Isn't it incredible? It seems to be the same thing that happened with the Salt Cellar in Oldham cancelling this event. It seems that they hadn't looked at the programme properly. They hadn't realised what the content of the conference was going to be, and when they did, it made them run a mile. And it's reminiscent to me of the situation we had in the summer, where Gloria, the organiser of the Questioning History conference, had her venue pull out on her with just a few days' notice. So this event was going to take place in Northampton. They pulled out, seemingly as a result of getting cold feet about what was going to be discussed at the conference. You know, truth, freedom, personal empowerment, that sort of thing. We can't have that going on, can we? So Gloria had to find a new venue at very short notice, and she did. We did the event up in Staffordshire at a great conference venue there. But it's just two examples, and the third would be this recording studio pulling out, of how truth just seems to repel some people. It's like garlic to a vampire. It's like holding up a cross to someone who's demonically possessed. You're trying to present them with empowering truth that is going to enlighten them, it's going to inspire them, it's going to break through all the lies and all the deception and all the mind control that they've been fed all through their life, and give them a chance to empower themselves, move forward, and actually make something of this life of theirs, so that when they leave this place and cross over to whatever lies beyond, they needn't feel that they've lived an entire lifetime in ignorance of truth and wallowing in profanity, base consciousness and ignorance. Mark Passio put it really well a while back when he said, it's as if you are selflessly offering somebody truth on a plate. You're handing it to them. You're putting it out to them. You're saying, here's some truth that I would like to give to you unconditionally to empower you in your life. And the person you're trying to give it to knocks it out of your hand and says, fuck truth. That's how it feels with so many of these people. Look at these venues. They've said to themselves, oh, this looks a bit worrying. This goes against the grain. This contradicts the official narrative. You don't hear this on the BBC. Boris Johnson's not telling us all this stuff. Oh, it seems a bit dangerous. Don't really want to be associated with this. I know we've got a contract with the organisers, but we're just going to have to pull out. That seems to be the dynamic that took place here. And it's very disappointing. But it's not entirely surprising. Anyway, all that said, we had a great weekend at Uprise, and there's going to be some more of these events coming up. I'll keep you posted on where they're going to be. Hopefully I'll be involved in a fair few of these, so watch out for all the regular channels for more on this. Before I forget, I just want to send a big shout and a big expression of gratitude to Alia, who was there at the weekend for her wonderful kindness and very touching generosity. Very much appreciated, Alia. Always good to see you, and hopefully catch you at another event very soon. Okay, on to the main message, the main point of this video, and I mentioned this during my talk on Saturday, that if the C word was the starter, the hors d'oeuvre, then sea change is going to be the main course. And isn't it ridiculous, isn't it pathetic how we have to use these code words and censorship to avoid the AI bots picking up on these things and taking the videos down? I mean, I don't want to lose this channel. A lot of people say, get off of YouTube, get onto these alternatives, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey. I'm already on Odyssey. My YouTube channel is mirrored on that one. So if my YouTube ever does go down, then all my videos are right there on Odyssey. And I've also got a BitChute channel. So I've got plan Bs in place. But there's no point in losing this channel if I don't have to. I'm on 2 strikes at the moment, which means one more and the entire channel goes. But one of these strikes expires on the 16th of December. So if I can make it through till then I lose 1 strike and I've got 1 more to play with. And the point is, I've spent, what is it now, 13 years building up this channel. 13 years worth of content. And I'm up to nearly 60,000 subscribers. If all that went in a heartbeat, it would be a real waste. It would be pretty tragic to me that 13 years of my output has gone. And I know it would be there on Odyssey, but YouTube is where people head, you know. Whatever you want to say about it, whatever you want to say about its motives, and Google, of course, it's still the go-to place for many people. That's where to get your videos viewed. That's where to get your message out. And that's what it's all about in these times. It's information wars, and we need to get our data and our truth out to as many people as possible using whatever platforms we can. And if those are the platforms of the enemy, the other side, then so be it. Let's use those as tools to disseminate this empowering information. Anyway, enough of a rant on that. So if the C word was the starter, then sea change, you know what I mean. Greta Thunberg's bloody hobby horse is going to be the main course. So what I've been seeing in recent times is talk of sea has been winding down in the mainstream media. It's not completely gone, and every now and again they talk about cases and figures, and we may have to do this and we may have to do that, because if it all went away very quickly, it would alert the normies. And they would think, well, hang on a minute, why are they not talking about the C word anymore? Why has it gone away so quickly when we were told it was so dangerous? So they're winding it down, still referring to it every now and again. But at the same time as they're winding that down, and I personally don't believe that the UK government is going to plunge this country into a full lockdown this winter. I don't believe that because I don't think they've been positioning enough for it with all the scaremongering in the mainstream media. It's pretty obvious that all roads in this narrative were always intended to lead to where we're at now, the V agenda, getting as many people as possible speared. So that one's really being ramped up. There was an absolutely disgusting piece of propaganda in the mainstream media over the weekend where they were talking about a young pregnant mother who died of, guess what, before she was about to give birth. And then they put the father out there imploring all pregnant mothers to go out and get themselves speared so it doesn't happen to them. Now, I don't know if this was a genuine family. I don't know if that guy was an actor. But whatever the case, it was disgusting appeals to emotion. It was obvious, blatant propaganda. And when you know the truth, and it's possible to research all this stuff, it's right there on the internet in various places, waiting to be discovered about the truth of the Vs and all the damage that they've been causing. They have been killing people. This is a genocidal agenda. And when they've not been killing people, they've been seriously maiming and injuring them, giving them conditions that will probably be with them for the rest of their lives, however long they may turn out to be. So to be pumping out propaganda is bad enough trying to get children speared, and the age that they've been aiming for has been getting lower and lower. Not content with 12 to 15-year-olds, they've then been after the 8 to 11-year-olds, and now they're talking about spearing the under 5s. That's bad enough. But when it comes to pregnant mothers and trying to get them to take this toxic poison into their system, that is the depths of the cesspit. That is beyond justifiable in any way. The mainstream media traitors are every bit as culpable in genocide and crimes against humanity as all these treasonous sellout politicians, and they all deserve the same traitor's fate. The same thing has to happen as did at the Nuremberg trials at the tail end of World War II. There is no excuse for saying I was just following orders. There is no excuse for saying I didn't know what the true agenda was. If you don't know, why don't you know? How is it that I, a bloody DJ, can discover this stuff, arm myself with this information, and then share and disseminate it with others? How is it that others, like Danny Rampling, can discover this stuff and speak their truth? And yet, pretty much everyone else in the DJ community is staying quiet. The point I'm making is that it's possible to discover this information. It's possible to know the truth. You turn the bloody TV off, you stop listening to the lies of the BBC and all these other channels, you stop looking at so-called newspapers, and you take some personal responsibility for researching this stuff for yourself. It can be done, and I and many hundreds of thousands of others, if not millions, stand as living examples of the fact that you can personally empower yourself with truthful information if the will is there to do so. And yet, all these sellout, treasonous traitors have chosen to go the other way. They've chosen to side with evil, with Satanists, with paedophiles. That's who you're associating with. That's whose bidding you're doing if you're pushing the official agenda here. It's just disgusting. It's a very sad indictment of human nature. It's not everyone, of course. You know, there is resistance. There is pushback. People are waking up. Again, nowhere near as fast as I would like or as needs to happen. But the process is occurring. I'll get onto that in due course. So as they've been slowly winding down the propaganda about C, they've been quickly ramping up the propaganda, the mind control, and the scaremongering about sea change. That's what the COP26 summit in Glasgow was all about last week, and that's going on again this week. And quite the coincidence that when that conference started, there was freak flooding and really extreme weather in the Scottish borders area, which made the news. As if to reinforce the illusion that sea change is real. And we've got references to it creeping into everything now. It's in so-called newspapers, magazines, all over these talk shows, these bloody stupid TV shows like Loose Women and Philip and Holly and all this shit. It's getting into soap operas now. They're making references to it in Coronation Street and EastEnders from what I hear. And it's obviously an agenda. When you start hearing about the same subject everywhere, you can be sure that the evildoers, the social engineers, the dark occult priest class of this world, the controllers of organised society are ramping up another of their agendas. And it's all tied in with lifestyle changes. We've got the agenda to continue pushing plant-based vegan products in supermarkets. Now, I'm all for the concept of a plant-based diet myself. I've been a vegan for a few years. I'll be honest, I've been struggling with it in recent times. And I've been going back to a few dairy products. So I've been kind of semi-vegetarian, semi-vegan. I've been finding it difficult. I will get back on the path. I'm going to do some self-discipline on myself. Just being honest about it. But in principle, I'm all for people adopting a plant-based vegan diet, on the basis that that way they're not supporting an industry of death and horror and suffering, which is the meat and dairy industries, which is why I've got to get myself back off dairy. But it's obviously an agenda, and a lot of these products we see in supermarkets are full of synthetic, artificial crap that is no good for you. It's nothing to do with natural health. And consider the brand names of some of these vegan foods that we're seeing in supermarkets. One of them is called Wicked Kitchen, and another one is called Heck, which is a minced oath. It's a kind of veiled way of saying the word hell. So why are plant-based foods being given names like Wicked and Hell? is that a clue as to what's really going on and what they really represent? When you hear that Bill Gates and Richard Branson, two of the most demonic bloody participants in this agenda, are looking to put out plant-based food, then you know something is very, very wrong with it. Bill Gates is not known for his philanthropy and his concern for human well-being. His biography will tell you he is, but the truth of the matter, again, if you do your own research and go digging, because it's all there waiting to be discovered, you can discover the true nature of Bill Gates and the principles and the values that he really holds dear. I keep hearing all the time that ain't Bill Gates, it's a double. Let's get on to that in due course. I'll finish my point here. So we're getting all this talk about lifestyle changes, all in the name of sea change, that are going to have to take place. There are all kinds of horror stories about how in years to come we're not going to be permitted to use our cars privately. That's going to be prohibited. Everyone's going to be corralled onto public transport. They're trying to get as many people as possible living in big towns and cities now, what they refer to in their demented psychopathic ramblings as human settlement zones. It's all part of the New World Order masterplan. It's all part of Agenda 2030, and it's been programmed into our subconscious psyches for decades through all kinds of futuristic dystopian movies, where they're getting us used to where they want to take things. You know, it is absolutely crazy, and it speaks to the mindset of these abominations of humanity and how out of touch they are with reality and with the truth of God's creation and what this place really is and what we are and our connectedness to everything else. Just the very thought that they can fulfill a plan like this. I mean, another part of it is I've heard that all UK airports are subject to being closed, according to documentation that's supposedly been leaked, save 3. Only 3 UK airports are to remain open in the years to come if these sickos have their way. I think it's Heathrow, Glasgow and Belfast City, I believe, and all others are to close. How is that ever going to happen? How is that ever going to be implemented? What are you going to do with a big-ass airport like Gatwick just sitting there, you know? How do you dismantle all of that? How do you undo that kind of infrastructure? You know, it's just completely demented. But then so are these people. So sea change is the main course, and that's where they want to take things. And the sea agenda was all about conditioning people to accept things like lockdowns and all kinds of impositions on their personal, God-given rights and freedoms. It was getting people programmed to accept these changes to their lives, and look at how many people are still wandering around with the bloody face muzzles on, when we've even been told that it's a matter of personal choice. You don't have to wear these things in the street. You don't have to wear these things in the supermarket or in the restaurant or in the pub. But people are still choosing to, because of how good a job the sickos have done of programming people and conditioning them to think of this as the new way of doing things. This is just how we live now, according to these people. But it's unnatural. It's anti-God, it's anti-creation, it's anti-personal sovereignty, it's anti-truth, it's anti-freedom. It doesn't stand for any of these things. And yet so many people have been conditioned to accepting these ways of doing things, and it's all designed to lead to the next level, under the guise of sea change, where we're going to be told once again that we are the problem. With the C word agenda, we were told that we humans, going about the very act of breathing, just living, just going about our business, we are the problem, we are the threat, we could be killing other people just by doing that. With sea change, it's more of the same. We're being told that by getting in our cars and driving to wherever we want to go. By getting on an airplane and flying to where we might want to go, we are causing the problem. Again, it's we humans. This is an atheistic, satanic agenda presenting the idea that we are the problem behind everything, when the opposite is actually the truth. We are God's creation. We live, or are supposed to live, are designed to live in harmony and balance and connectedness to our surroundings, to everything around us, to the very earth itself, to creation itself. And once again, these sick abominations have turned all that on its head, and they've presented the idea that we are a parasite, that we are leeches, that we are a curse on creation, when actually all of that applies to them. They're out of tune with nature, with creation, with everything else. They're the sickos. They're the ones that have to go, not us. They're on the way out. We're going to see to that. So that's what the agenda is, and it's the main course. We've moved on to this now. All the hype and all the propaganda that we're now getting is about sea change, and they're going to try. They're going to try to reintroduce all kinds of impositions on our rights and freedoms because they think they've warmed everyone up with the C word agenda. But I think they've got a shock coming. I think they've overreached spectacularly, and there's no way on earth in creation that they're going to be able to take this agenda all the way to where they want it to go. We're seeing a lot of resistance now. We're seeing a lot of examples of pushback. We're seeing whistleblowers speaking out, people coming forward, documentation being exposed, being leaked. All of this is only going to continue, and it's going to snowball. It's going to reach a point where it grows exponentially, and it can't be stopped. Where do the sickos think all this stuff is going to go? Do they really think they can put it back in the box and put the lid on it and bury it forever now that this momentum has got up and going? So there's pockets of resistance happening all over the place. As I said in a previous video, some kind of process needs to take place whereby all these different examples of resistance and pushback and non-acquiescence from all over the world in some way cohesively join together into an unstoppable power force. I don't know what that process is going to consist of. I'm suggesting that it needs to happen. Maybe some kind of divine intervention or some kind of miracle will cause that to happen. Maybe all the prayer and all the intention that's been put out there into the ether is going to coalesce and bring about some kind of process like that. Because something I've been musing on a lot recently is, where is all the prayer going? If you think about the number of people all over the world that have been offering up prayer and expressing their will and their intent to bring about better conditions for humanity. I mean, even people that have been buying the lie, the official version of C, will have been praying. They'll have been praying for this terrible virus to go away and for us all to be safe again. But the intent is there, and it's similar to the intent that those of us that don't buy these lies, these deceptions, and know the whole thing has been a monumental scam. It's similar to the consciousness that we've been putting out there with our prayers, with our intentions. Because we've been asking for the restoration of truth, justice, freedom, love. And that kind of joins together with these normies that have been praying for us all to be safe and for society to return to how it was previously. Then you've got orthodox religious types, and they'll have been asking their God, whichever expression of it might be, to bring about safety and deliver us from this terrible threat. Whatever the case, that's a lot of intention, that's a lot of energy that's been put out there into the ether. At some point, that has to manifest itself physically in our experienced situation here. So maybe we'll reach a tipping point with all of that, with all this prayer, where it has to come into physical manifestation in some form. Either way, the sea change agenda is a step too far. It's going to be the undoing of the psychopathic maniacs. They've overreached. They've got too audacious. They're rushing everything through too quickly. They used to take years or decades to slowly drip this stuff into society. They're trying to get it all done now in a matter of months. They're revealing their true nature. Too many people are now seeing that something is wrong. I mean, I continually complain that this process is not happening quick enough, and it's not for my liking, but then I've always been the impatient type. Clearly, the process is underway. It's become a bit of a race against time, really, which reminds me of how Bob Geldof's Sport Aid event was marketed back in 1986 off the back of Live Aid and Band Aid. They called that the race against time. And it was a play on words because the whole idea was that people run marathons in order to raise money to aid famine relief in Africa. You know, that whole thing was obviously a big scam. We can see that now. A lot of the money raised went towards buying arms for, rebel factions in different parts of Africa. A lot of it went into investment in tobacco and other drugs. The whole thing was completely corrupt. But why are we surprised about that, especially when Bob Geldof was at the helm of it, now that we can understand his true nature? Again, all the research can be done. All the information is there if you've got the will to go out and find it. So that was marketed as the race against time, and that's what we've got now. We've got a race between enough in society waking up to truth, accepting that the world is nothing like what they've been told it is, and most importantly, using that process to stand in personal sovereignty, empowered freedom, and to actually get involved in the process of turning this situation around, becoming an activist in some way, and influencing others, getting the message out to as many people as you possibly can. That's why we stay on YouTube. That's why I don't just want to be on BitChute, because I'm not reaching anywhere near the number of people I am on this platform. We need to get the message out far and wide as quickly as possible, because all the while that we're attempting to do that, the sick ones are trying to put the final pieces of the jigsaw puzzle in place in their New World Order prison planet master plan. They want us all living as slaves. That's their demented, mad agenda. And we have to stop that from happening. And I believe we will, because that process is now underway. But there's more work to do. There's more struggles, more hardships to go through before we can get out the party bunting and start celebrating just yet. We have to get ourselves to that point. Sea change is the main course. We finished the starter, and that's where we're at now. What the dessert is going to look like is anybody's guess. One thing I will acknowledge is that doubles are clearly being used with many prominent figures. As I've mentioned before, whoever or whatever that is in the White House, if it's even really in the White House, it ain't Joe Biden. It's not the original Joe Biden. You can get pictures of the original Joe Biden. They are hidden from Google searches. They're very difficult to come by, but you can still find them. And if you compare the original Joe Biden with the character we have today, Poopy Pants, they are not the same person. So Biden has been replaced, and an imposter has been offered up to us as the President of the United States of America. That should be a cause of great concern to every man and woman in the world. On top of that, many of the recent public appearances of the Queen have clearly been CGI deep fake. Even I can see this. It's not her. Looks nothing like her. The facial structure is wrong, the voice is wrong, the mannerisms are wrong. She's grinning like a bloody Cheshire cat the whole time. When have you ever known that miserable bitch to smile prior to, recent times? There's been an actor portraying Prince Charles, as I've discussed before in interviews. It seems that there's a Fauci imposter. Somebody sent me a picture of the original Anthony Fauci compared to how he's been looking in recent public appearances. It's a different guy. Yeah, I accept that. But what does it all mean? And what's the point of it if these people have been replaced and doubles and CGI fakes are being put in? What's the point of it if we, the people, never get to discover what's going on? If it's some kind of benevolent good guys behind these replacements, what is the point of it if we don't get the truth of the matter communicated to us? And if it's not good guys behind it, if it's the control system that's been replacing these key individuals, why? And what's the gain? What's the benefit for them of deep faking the Queen and putting in a Biden imposter? Why? I need answers to this, and everyone should be demanding answers to this. What's the point of any of it? I just want to address something else before the end of the video, and that is the continued narrative that I'm hearing every day that somehow an alliance of white hats, good guys, are in control. I get emails daily from Before It's News, and they link to videos from the X22 report and Christian Patriot News and many other sources. And still, so many people are under the illusion that the Q plan, the idea that Trump is coming back into office at some point, is real. And as my regular viewers will know, last year I was giving this notion the time of day. I wasn't completely invested in it. I still reserved some caution, but I was prepared to accept the idea that this might be happening. For many, many months now, I've thrown all that out, and I've dismissed it as the psyop that I now accept it to be. There is no white hat alliance. This whole idea is a modern rebooting of an agenda that was in place 100 years ago at the point of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. It was called Operation Trust, and it presented the idea that there was a group of good guys that were working behind the scenes to arrest all the evildoers, bring down their power system, and restore justice and freedom to the people. So you guys out there, you regular members of the public, you don't have to do anything. You can just sit back and wait for the results and leave it all to us. And that's what we're hearing about the White Hat Alliance. So I've got some questions. If the good guys are in control, why are they allowing so many people to die from the V? People are dying every day. There's documentation to show this. The evidence, the proof is out there. If they're not dying, they're being seriously maimed and injured. People are committing suicide every day because they just can't stand the trauma and the mind manipulations of the times in which we now live. It's too much for them. They can't stand the desolation. They can't stand how their lives have been forcibly changed against their will, and they're taking themselves out of here. What kind of good guys would allow that situation to continue day by day, week by week, month by month? This whole thing is just dragging on and on and on. We've passed the 1-year anniversary of that fraudulent US election. And I accept it was stolen. It should have been Trump in place for a second term. Fraud was committed, and there's so much evidence that this was the case. But in spite of that evidence, nothing's happened. The result has not been overturned. What's the point of having all this evidence, all this proof, if it goes nowhere? So nothing is going to happen. We've heard the emergency broadcast system is going to kick in every weekend for the last 10, 12 months. Never happens. It's not going to. It's really starting to piss me off. If the good guys are in control, why are there toxic chemicals being dumped into the skies? Most days, several days. It seems they pick certain dates, and in this country, at least, it's probably the same around the rest of the world, they just blitz the entire nation. This was the case a couple of days ago when I went up to the Uprise conference. There were some people that had come up from the south coast, and they said, "Oh, you should have seen the skies this morning. It was ridiculous. Absolute whiteout. Just so much crap dumped in the skies." Then there were people from London who said the same thing. I came up from Northamptonshire. I'd seen the same thing. And as we got to Manchester, there was just toxic shite in the skies there. So they seem to do the entire nation on certain days. And this may well be why so many people have been getting sick lately, because most people I know, most people I communicate with, have had some kind of illness in recent weeks and months where it's given them flu-type symptoms, the same sort of symptoms that I had a few weeks ago. It could be that all this shit falling to earth, and we're hearing about graphene oxide, we hear about aluminium, barium, strontium, all these ingredients falling to earth, being ingested by people, not a good thing. What kind of benevolent alliance would allow this agenda to continue? There is no benevolent alliance. We can know this. Turning this situation around, putting down these evil bastards, and taking back our sovereignty and our freedom is our job. It falls on us. No one else. No saviours. No white knights. It's not going to happen. If ever the proof or the evidence presents itself to show that this has been the case, I will gladly eat my words. I will gladly come on one of these videos and make a public apology and accept that I should have had more faith. I should have had more patience. But it's not going to happen. I'm not going to have to do that video. Let's be real about it. The job of saving ourselves falls on us and us alone. And we have to step up to the mark and take on that personal responsibility. And I believe we will. I do not accept that the evildoers are going to win. They're not going to be able to take their demented, maniacal plan to full fruition. They might get a bit further down the line with it, but they're not going to make it stick ultimately. We are going to win this. We've started winning it. We've just got to keep that process going. I still want to set into place a mass meditation for the 11th of November. That's this coming Thursday. It's going to be 11/11. I propose that we get as many people as possible meditating, putting out their will and their intent for a better experienced situation for all of humanity and the downfall of evil at 11/11/11. There's obviously going to be the event commemorating the fallen of the First and Second World Wars, as there is every year at this time. I personally believe that that whole thing is a dark occult ritual, and that people have been coerced into giving their energy and their consciousness to that event not realising how steeped in dark symbolism it is, with the black and the red, the colours of Saturn, which is worshipped by, these Satanists, these Luciferians. Let's offset all of that, and let's instead drench the morphic field with positive, benevolent energy and intent. So let's get as many people as possible on board with that at 11 a.m. on Thursday, 11th of November, UK time, but people in other nations, other time zones, of course, can join in. The more, the better. Just whatever corresponds with 11 a.m. UK time. There are more meditations taking place, which I've been asked to announce via option 3, I believe. And there are courses in meditation that these guys are offering as well. So the link is in the notes below if anyone wants to take a look at that and get more involved. Just want to mention once again my truth taxi, which I've discussed in previous videos. So I used to be a private hire driver. I don't do that officially anymore, but I'm offering this service which I've dubbed the Truth Taxi, which is available for anyone that needs a long journey from point A to point B and wants some interesting conversation along the way, hopefully. And no bullshit, no masks, no track and trace, none of that stuff. We don't go in for that. So a point to make is that I'm based in Northamptonshire. So I've discovered from some previous experiences that the Truth Taxi idea doesn't really work if the start point is a long way from where I am. So if somebody wants to book me and the start point is Penzance, it's a bit of a problem because it's going to take me 5 hours to get down there before the journey even starts. So it's only really going to work if somebody's based in the Midlands or, in the south somewhere, not too far away from Northamptonshire. If that's the start point, then the whole thing could work. So if anyone is interested or needs a journey from point A to point B, and the Truth Taxi idea appeals to them, please drop me an email to markdevlinuk@gmail.com and we can get a discussion going and hopefully arrange something. My next speaking gigs are going to be up in Newcastle, I should say, on Friday the 19th, where I'm going to be delivering a talk titled The Dark Heart of the BBC. No shortage of information to get into there. And then the following day, Saturday the 20th, I'll be presenting aspects of the soundbites section of my upcoming book, Musical Truth Volume 3. So these talks are taking place in conjunction with Truth Seekers Northeast. So for those who know, those that might already have an association with Truth Seekers Northeast, hope to see you at those gigs on the 19th and the 20th of this month. Other than that, I hope today's message has resonated with people. A lot of it was obviously spontaneous and on the spot, which is the best way to do these things. Catch you next time.